What if you could build a ladder to God? Not with wood and nails, but with pure logic. Well, today we're diving into a really fascinating philosophical argument from 11th century Persia that tries to do just that. And it all starts in a humble workshop before reaching for the very nature of existence itself.
It all kicks off with one of the biggest questions we've ever asked. What is the ultimate cause of everything? Where does it all actually come from? It's a question that has kept philosophers, scientists, and pretty much everyone else busy for thousands of years. But this 11th century Persian philosopher and poet, a guy named Nasir Khusraw, he proposed that the answer isn't buried in some complex equation or ancient scroll. No, he argued it begins somewhere much more familiar, right inside a humble carpenter's workshop. It's a surprisingly simple and frankly brilliant place to start. So our first section is called The Craftsman's Secret. We're about to see how just a simple observation, something you could see any day, can actually lead us to a pretty profound conclusion about, well, all of reality.
Okay, so according to Khosrow, any kind of skillful, wise action in the world comes directly from what he calls the nafs, which is the individual soul or the self. Just think of it as the immediate force that wills your hands to move, the thing that puts your intention into action. It's the doer in the equation.
But the nafs, the soul, it doesn't just act blindly. It's guided by something else, the aql, or the intellect. Think of it like this. The aql is the blueprint and the nafs is the builder. And it makes sense, right? The better the blueprint, the more perfect the final creation is going to be.
All right, now this is where things get really interesting. Khosrow takes this simple workshop analogy and he just scales it up dramatically. He applies the exact same logic not just to one craftsman, but to the entire cosmos. He uses this incredible metaphor, describing the whole universe as an Asya Azim, a great mill. For him, it's not some chaotic mess of random events. Not at all. He sees it as this vast, intricate, coordinated system where everything is working together with a kind of hidden wisdom, just like the gears of a giant machine.
So if the individual craftsman has a nafs, then it just follows, logically, that this great mill of a universe must have one too. He calls this the nafse kuli, or the universal soul. This is the grand craftsman, the single animating force behind all the workings of nature. But this line of thinking leads us straight into a really fascinating logical puzzle. It's a kind of paradox that Khosrow uses to push his argument up to the next level, something we can call the creator resemblance problem.
Okay, here's the core idea. The whole thing hinges on this. Any maker has to share some kind of fundamental characteristic with the thing that it makes. They have to exist on the same plane of reality in some way. This simple observation is the key that unlocks the whole argument.
Let's just break this down. A carpenter and the throne he builds, they're both physical objects, right? They share the characteristic of having a body. Same goes for nature, which produces both the carpenter and the wood. And even the universal soul and the nature it animates, they share a fundamental quality. They are both a type of substance. Basically, they are both things that exist within reality. And this leads to the million-dollar question. If every creator we can point to, the carpenter, nature, even this grand universal soul, shares something fundamental with its creation, can any of them really be the ultimate origin? Or are they all just links in a much longer chain? And that, right there, brings us to the top of the ladder. This is the climax of the argument. The solution to this whole resemblance problem lies in going beyond that chain of substance itself. Here's the brilliant logical leap. For something to be the true first cause, it has to break this chain of resemblance. The ultimate creator can't be just another thing in the universe. It has to be the source of things, the creator of substance itself. Khosrow gives this ultimate source a specific name, the Mabde Haq, which translates to the true originator. Now, this isn't just another maker on the list. This is the source of makers, the entity that brings the very idea of substance into existence from nothing. And Khosrow's own words just capture the mind-bending nature of this idea perfectly. He writes, "Beyond substance, there is no path for the imagination, nor a place for speech to wander." In other words, we can't truly picture it. We can't even properly describe it, because our minds and our words are products of the very substance it created. So, how does this 11th century Persian idea stack up against Western philosophy? It's really fascinating to see how it kind of enters into a dialogue with some of the biggest thinkers in history. Well, think about Aristotle, right? His unmoved mover is a first cause of motion. But for Aristotle, the universe, the matter itself, was eternal. The mover acts on stuff that's already there. Khusraw is making a much more radical claim. His true originator doesn't just start the cosmic engine, it creates the engine, the fuel, and the very space it exists in, all of it from absolute nothing. Now let's fast forward about 700 years to the German philosopher Immanuel Kant. He argued that our minds actively structure our reality, which means we can never perceive the noumenal realm, the world of things in themselves. It's a striking parallel, isn't it? Both thinkers, coming from totally different angles, arrive at a similar conclusion. There's a fundamental limit to what we can know, a boundary our reason just can't cross. For Khusraw, that boundary is God. And then, the contrast with a modern thinker like Friedrich Nietzsche couldn't be more stark. I mean, Khusraw painstakingly builds this elegant logical ladder, climbing up to a transcendent creator. Nietzsche, with his famous declaration that God is dead, basically comes along and kicks that ladder over. For him, these kinds of metaphysical hierarchies aren't paths to the truth. They're human inventions we have to get past to create our own meaning.
Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think. Your support really means a lot and helps me keep creating content for you all. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
So, we've walked through this incredible idea and even compared it across history. But that brings us to the most important question, really. Why does an argument that was crafted 1,000 years ago still matter today? What can we actually take away from it?
Just think about the logical journey we just took. It's so elegant. We started with a simple craftsman in a workshop. We scaled that idea up to the whole universe, animated by a universal soul. Then we hit that logical snag, the resemblance problem, the paradox that a creator has to share something with its creation. And that very puzzle is what forced the stunning conclusion: the true ultimate creator has to exist entirely beyond substance, beyond all the categories of our reality. And so that leaves us with one final thought to ponder. In our modern age, which is so dominated by physics and the search for origins we can quantify, like the Big Bang, what is the value of a philosophical argument like this one? What can we learn from a line of reasoning that points not to an answer we can describe, but to a reality that is, by its very nature, profoundly and forever beyond all description?